My crush has been living in my wall. You know, I scrolled past this video.
And there's absolutely no way I can't watch it.
Like, is he there on purpose? Is she trapping him there? Is he spying on her? I have so many questions. This is giving me very Joe from You vibes. I preferred him much more in Gossip Girl. So let's watch.
After high school, I decided to move out of my parents' house. So I rented a small apartment on the other side of our big city. And I found a part-time job at a local coffee shop. This was my first job ever. I worked as a barista. Luckily, my coworkers were super friendly. One of them is Caleb.
I bet he's the one.
He's the one
that she's gonna trap in the wall, right? I don't know, place your bets. Let me know down below. You know, maybe you just shouldn't trap anyone in the wall. That's some good legal advice. I'm not a lawyer or anything, don't hold me to it, but...
Didn't speak much, but he stared at me all the time. He also worked as a barista.
So he's the creepy one. He probably went in the wall himself.
Hey, when we were making coffee, I was telling him my concerns about college. I waited for his response, but he just stared at me for a whole minute before saying, "You have the best smell ever."
I don't think they realize how long a minute actually is. Let's stay here for a whole minute without saying anything. Absolutely kidding, not doing that. Not trying to kill my channel. Please keep watching. Don't like him though. Forgot his name already. Don't like him.
I just laughed and walked away awkwardly. Since then, I started to notice how weird he is, so I tried to keep my distance. One day after a late night shift, I got to the parking lot, got inside my car, and reversed it. Suddenly, I hit something. My heart dropped. I rushed to see what had happened,
sound good.
and there I saw Caleb, lying on the ground holding his leg. I panicked and didn't know what to do, so I jumped in my car and drove home, leaving him on the ground. I was terrified by what I did. I didn't help him. The next day at work, I hoped that he wouldn't realize that I was the one who hit him. But Caleb looked at me with a smile on his face. I was confused. Then he came close to me and said, "It's okay, Milla. I know you were scared and terrified. That's why you didn't help me."
Oh, so he's one of those guys that like it when they get hurt. They have mommy issues. Just saying, avoid them.
My heart stopped. He knew. Then he continued, "I forgave you. I'm happy as long as you are safe. And I only got a few bruises."
I hate him.
I was shocked by Caleb's response.
I hate him.
I asked him what he was doing there behind my car. He said he wanted to make sure I arrived safely because it was late at night. He was so polite, and it made me feel bad about how I treated him before.
You know, he could have probably just like asked to like come in her car and like check on her or something really nice. But no, he just stalked her. I think he's the one she should be afraid of.
I stopped avoiding him, and we slowly became friends. But
bad idea.
Shop, I started to notice there was a cute customer sitting in the same spot every day, and he never took his eyes off me. I blushed and smiled at him. However, he never approached me.
Who wants to bet that Caleb, M-U-R-D-E-R-S, is that murders him?
After my shift, I was walking to my car and I heard footsteps behind me. When I looked, I saw a dark figure. I panicked and ran as fast as I could. I could hear him getting closer, but I just ran until I lost him. The next day when I arrived at work, I heard there was a big fight inside. When I walked in, I saw Caleb beating the cute customer I saw the other day.
I told you, you know, I feel like murder's maybe a little bit too far for a true story animation, but that works.
Manager came in and apologized to the guy and then told Caleb to take the day off. When I
just
asked
a day?
Why he did it, he said that the guy was stalking me. I was confused. Was he the one who followed me last night? Caleb explained that he had been watching him since he noticed his weird behavior. When he heard him today on the phone saying he was going to find out where I live, he couldn't hold it in and he beat him.
I feel like Caleb's the one with these issues. I don't know, I feel like he's just projecting it onto someone else.
I didn't expect that Caleb would go that far to protect me. From that day on, he insisted on walking me home and making sure that I got there safely.
He probably just wants to know where you live. She's dumb.
He walked me home a couple of times. I decided to invite him inside. We sat and talked for hours. Then, it happened. We kissed and slept cuddling each other. After that night,
cuddling, sure.
Often watching movies or talking. I started college after 1 week, and what I saw there made my jaw literally drop. The same guy from the coffee shop. He was holding a bag. He looked at me, and I immediately turned my face and walked away. I decided not to tell Caleb since I was afraid that he might go after the guy again. I kept seeing the guy at college for the next few days. He didn't seem like a bad guy after seeing him closely, so...
I don't know how she hasn't clocked on that Caleb is in fact the bad guy from the first time that he stalked her home, but I don't know. I guess some people don't have that many brain cells.
I decided if he ever comes again to talk to me, I'll give him a chance to explain himself. And it happened.
Sounds good.
He smiled at me as usual. I didn't turn my face and smiled back at him, which encouraged him to approach me and start the conversation. He said, "Hi, Mila, I'm Dan. Well, I know your name from the tag on your apron." Then he continued, "I didn't mean to bother you or anything, but I like how you always look so calm and friendly. But your coworker is scary."
I like how you always look so calm isn't really a way to compliment a lady. It's like, oh, you're boring, you'll do. You'll be easy.
He beat me for no reason. I told him that Caleb thought he was creeping on me and he did it to protect me. I assured him that Caleb is a good guy. After this conversation, I saw him daily at college, and I discovered that we had some mutual friends.
Now kiss.
Enjoyed his company, but didn't tell Caleb anything. After a month, the exams period started. I invited Dan and our mutual friends to have a study group at my place.
Why do none of these people have pupils? That's a question I have.
After each meeting, Dan was the last to leave. We sat together and chatted for a couple of hours. We flirted with each other, and we even kissed. I liked Dan.
Oh.
And also liked Caleb. And I wasn't ready to choose
Cheater.
or become intimate with one of them.
Well, maybe you should drop the psychopath and date the nice guy.
So I decided to leave everything as it is. At work, I took a late night shift since I was busy with college. And on my way to the car, I felt as if I'm being watched again. I texted Caleb and asked if he could come. I was so afraid to go home alone that night. He replied that he will be there in 10 minutes.
He actually said a few minutes. I don't know if he can read though. Maybe it's just me that can read.
Caleb got angry at me for leaving work late without telling him. He said, "Whenever you have a late shift, text me. I can't have you go home alone." Then he said that the guy that used to come to the shop may be the stalker. I couldn't tell him that Dan is actually a nice guy and we hung out together, so I ignored it. Caleb stayed at my place for 2 nights and insisted that I must text him whenever I work late shifts. After a couple of days, one of my coworkers named Liz came to my place. We sat, and she suddenly said, "I didn't know that you smoke, Mila. The smell is so strong here." I told her that I don't smoke.
I see where this is going. I'm assuming someone smokes. And they live in her wall. Am I a genius? Am I a scientist? I don't know, guys. You're gonna have to let me know. But I'm pretty sure that I am. I'm just putting it out there. Not forcing anyone to take my side or anything, but you're backing the right horse. If you subscribe to me, you'll just win in life. There you go. That's what I'm putting out there. Goodbye.
Maybe the smell is coming from one of the neighbors. After Liz's remark, I started to notice many weird things happening at my apartment. Many of my things went missing and
That's
showed
when
up
I would
after days.
get out.
I thought it was caused by stress of the exams, so I brushed it off. One night, I heard a loud banging noise coming from the living room. I was so scared, but got out of bed and went there to see. I opened the main door, but there was nothing. I went back to my room and texted Caleb about what happened. He replied that I'm overthinking and maybe the noise came from one of the neighbors.
So Caleb is the one in the wall, or is it her new boyfriend? Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna put a prediction out there. Caleb is chilling on the wall and then she brings her new boyfriend over. Caleb murders him.
I got upset by his text. I was hoping that he would come and stay over. So I decided to invite Dan. I sent him a message, but there was no reply.
Guys, I'm a genius. I swear I haven't watched this before.
I thought that it was weird since he always answers his phone, but maybe he didn't have battery left in his phone or something. I went to sleep that night. In the morning, I went to work. When I arrived there, one of my coworkers said, "Did Caleb tell you anything about why he quit work?" I was shocked Caleb quit. Why? He didn't tell me anything. I immediately texted him, but there was no reply. I spent the whole shift worried about him and called several times, but still no answer.
Don't worry, he's just chilling on your wall. He's fine.
I didn't know if he had friends outside the coffee shop. He never mentioned anyone. I decided to text Dan and tell him this, even though he hated Caleb. But surprisingly, still there was no reply from Dan too. What happened? Did the two of them just disappear? And at the same time?
Maybe they both murdered
I was
each
upset
other.
by what happened.
Double
Liz saw
crossover.
how upset I was. And then she said she's going to stay at my place and we could watch some movies, have fun, and forget about the boys' drama. So we went home together and stayed up until a late hour. In the middle of the night, we heard the same loud banging noise. I looked at Liz and she was terrified too. We carefully got outside my room and went to check the house, but nothing was there. We also checked the hallways, but They were dead empty.
That's because he's in the wall. But who checks in their wall, right? Maybe I should.
The lights on and investigate in the morning. The next day, as I was taking the trash outside, I saw my neighbor. She was an old woman. I greeted her and she did the same and said, "Your boyfriend is a nice guy, but..."
Why does she have black eyes?
"But he always asks me how I'm doing when he gets out at noon." What? I froze. "What boyfriend?" I asked. She said, "Oh, the one with the dark hair. I always see him leaving the apartment at noon." I freaked out. I
They
ran
both have dark
terrified
hair.
to the apartment to see Liz.
Now I'm
She looked
stressed.
confused. I shouted at her, "Someone has been breaking into my apartment for days." I quickly explained to her what the old lady had said, and we called the cops. When they arrived, I explained to them what the old lady said, and they searched the whole apartment and found nothing. I was shocked. How and who? As the police were still in the apartment, I noticed that the big painting in the living room was tilted. I reached to fix it, but to my horror, I saw it creak from the side.
To your horror, what?
So I moved it a little, and I let out a loud...
Why is she laughing? Ha, ha, right? Is it meant to be scary? I don't know.
The police officers and Liz rushed to me, and when they saw, their
Why does
jaws
he have red
literally
eyes?
dropped. There was a huge hole in the wall.
So is it Caleb or is it Dan? My bet's still on Caleb. I almost said Kalis. I wish he was in my wall so I miss him.
In that hole were a few clothes, bed sheets, and a bag. They searched the bag and found a wallet with an ID. To my shock,
Yes! I got it right!
the person who was living in the wall must stay there for a long time, since there was a lot of cigarettes and empty food cans. Then they said they will make sure to arrest Caleb and take good care of this case, since it was very dangerous and no one knew his intentions. I was
Facts.
terrified.
Well, I think I know his
The
intentions.
nice guy was a psycho who lived in my wall.
Why
They
are you
asked
so
us many
shocked?
questions about him. Turned out that we barely knew anything about him. When Liz mentioned to them the fight incident at the coffee shop was the first time Caleb got violent, they said they will check the tape and see if they can get anything from it. I decided to stay at Liz's apartment until they arrest him. That same day, I got a phone call from the police. They said that they watched the tape and saw something shocking. During the fight, they saw Dan taking something out of Caleb's pocket and they zoomed to see. It was his ID.
Hold on. Excuse me? Please don't tell me this is Dan. I've been rooting for him the whole time.
I was terrified. Then the police said that Dan must be the one they're looking for, and he wanted to frame Caleb. After a couple of days, Caleb showed up. He said that he went to a nearby city to his sick grandma. She was on the verge of dying.
You didn't feel like dropping her a text or like a Facebook message?
And that's why he didn't have his phone with him and apologized for the sudden disappearance. Caleb was shocked by what we told him about Dan. He said, "I knew it. That guy was psycho. He was watching you the whole time with the dirtiest look on his face." Caleb told me that he was protecting me the whole time. And when I hit him with the car, he said he was coming to talk to me, but I didn't see him. As for now, I go to a psychiatrist to recover from that traumatic experience.
As you probably should, yes.
For the police to find Dan and arrest him.
Oh, he hasn't been arrested yet? That's terrifying. Anyway, guys, I guess check your walls and that there is no one in them. Okay, I'm gonna leave on that note. Sounds pretty good, right? Bye.